because I'm doing commentary, I will be pausing a lot or trying to pause a lot to try and say what I need to say, but I will still be interacting with chat. So I hope everyone's had a good day so far. Hope you also enjoy the run. Guess I'll go into my intro and get started. So hi, I am Little Crochet. I am a speedrunner for Triangle Strategy, and I run all endings on New Game Plus. I'm doing a commentated run, so we're going to go through the whole 2 hours it takes, and I'll try to explain as much as possible as I'm going through it. And the run starts when we select difficulty. So I'm going to load up a New Game Plus save here that I have already pre-made. Let's go. Okay, yeah, okay. And I do have the right splits up this time. So, 3, 2, 1, go. I love the intro music. Anyway, so, this first battle is going to be up in a minute and a half, so there isn't a lot that I will be able to say to explain it, so I do apologize if it's going to be very brief. What you do need to know is that I can't unfortunately change out the units that start and where they're positioned. So we're going to have to work with what we're given, and luckily for us, 4 out of 5 characters are useful. Hi Madill, thank you. Unfortunately there is one character who unfortunately will not get used. Her name is Gila. She's a healer, and she's only there because she has to be. What we will start the battle out with will be a called Sunfall Strat, which is using Frederica. She does a very big AoE, which you will see when we get to it. And it'll be a lot of menuing happening with trying to get through and boosting her up. And it will wipe out a lot of the enemies because they are clustered together. So this strat is used in a lot of the maps where there is a big cluster of enemies. And here we're just gonna skip through as much as we can. Unfortunately, we can't skip this part of the cutscene because there was a choice that we have to make. Most other cutscenes we can skip if there's something important happening, like a key item being shown, a party member joining or leaving. Then we cannot unfortunately skip the cutscene. We have to fast forward through it. Alright, so I will try to concentrate on this battle, and I will explain what's going on afterwards. So the enemies here will go into position of AoE. You'll also notice that I did turn Frederica to face away. That will mean that Trish will come up here and attack her. There is a chance that if you don't do that, that she will go up and attack Roland up and head north instead. You'll also notice that she is charging this attack. So Sunfall is her ultimate ability, and it does take 1 turn to charge her ability. So because of that, we do a bunch of stuff to take her, get her to get that done. So I unfortunately used the wrong elemental items there. So there is something that I guess Gila can do now. There we go. Yeah, so you are supposed to use ice elemental pellets there, because if you don't, then Trish will not die. So I accidentally used fire, which means that she didn't die, but I saved it with Gila, so she is not useless. And that is the first battle done. Alright, so what happened there with the extra menus that popped up, so those are Quietuses. They are abilities that you can use before a unit moves, and you have 5 points to spend all up, and you use each ability once per battle. So what I used there was Fleet-footed, which gives units an extra 2 movements on top of their base movement. I also use Battle Cry, which gave Frederica an extra 2 TP. So TP is what you use to cast your abilities. And with Frederica specifically, she gets higher magic attack on a sunny and clear day. And the more TP that gets pumped into her Sunfall ability, the more damage it does. So Frederica as well has equipped a Vanguard Scarf accessory, which allows her to move first on every map. So that means we can use that on a lot of the battles to clear out as much as we can. So we're going to be using that same strat on the next battle as well. The other Quietus ability I used was in tandem. So because she does charge that attack, we use in tandem so that the Sunfall goes off sooner, rather than waiting for a whole round of turns for the attack to go off. That would mean that units would be out of place if we didn't use in tandem as well. Other Quietus abilities we use is Light Wave, so that will let us teleport units around. And the other one that we use, but not quite as often, will be Missed Opportunity, which casts Stop on units as well. Okay, so with that all out of the way, you'll notice that we were in an exploration phase. So the game is split up into bouts of story, a little bit of an exploration before certain maps, some choices sometimes that appear up, which you'll notice will affect convictions, which we don't really need to worry about in New Game Plus. So with New Game Plus, everything that you had in your previous ending will carry over. So we've maxed out everyone's stats, we've got all the accessories and items that we need to carry us on to this run. And we can sway anyone we want to with our convictions because it is the highest it can possibly be. So convictions will come into play just before chapter 3, where the scales of conviction will turn up. But with this next battle, we'll be introducing a new character, or a bunch of new characters as we're going through the story. But we'll be using Quahag, who is a time mage, and his abilities are especially useful in the speedrun because it allows us to move units around, so both allied and enemy units. So if there's someone that's out of place for the Sunfall strat, we can use him to move that enemy in place and knock them out. Oh, okay. Here we have another exploration phase, which again will not matter for us at all. We can't skip because there is a decision that is coming up. You'll see a bunch of characters here that will turn up in the party, and a bunch of other characters that are recruitable. We still don't use all of the characters. There's a bunch that are useful for us, but others not so. Good luck, gonna lurk and listen. Thanks, Duo. I appreciate it. So the premise of this battle is that we are in a tournament, so we're still very, very early in the game. There's not many high stakes that are happening here, so we do need to bring in... Remove Benedict, you are Quahag, and move Frederica. There we go, yeah, so the setup for this particular map is pretty easy. And again, we're going to do the same Sunfall strat. We're going to move Frederica right in so that we can tempt 2 bosses there. So Exharme and Sorcery. Oops, so we're going to center this Sunfall straight on Frederica. And they are just gonna run in. And use Anna here, so she can use 2 items. So we're going to aim that right here. I did miss a little. That will affect how this will work out, but we should still be fine. I can work around this. Here we're just going to displace this enemy that hasn't moved yet. Should knock out most enemies. Okay, so Exharme is still going to live. That was my fault. We're just gonna roll with it here. And we're done. Okay. So, the Scales of Conviction is coming up. So we do need to make a choice on where we want to go. So the 2 possible choices are to go to Hyzan or to go to Esphros. So in this particular case, the decision is go to Hyzan because the next battle's win condition is defeat 1 boss. The battle in the other choice is defeat all enemies, which is not what we want to do for the speedrun. So the other thing I want to mention as well is there is always a character that is undecided in the Scales vote. So we can sway them to go to a particular destination. In this particular vote, the choice we want is the default vote. So there isn't much that we need to do other than to skip through to the end. And we will see a little bit of Hyzan. We'll learn a little bit about what happens with the Saintly Seven, the Hierophant, and how they deal with their society, which is very religious. Hold on. Yeah, it's a very religious society. There's nothing sinister going on at all. Don't you worry about it. And because this is a very minor vote, there isn't a lot of, again, high stakes happening here. We're just going through the motions of the story, and it'll lead up to some serious stuff happening later. Sorry, I just needed some water. So, this next battle, like I said, does have a different win requirement, and this is the first of the different win requirements that will happen in the battles. So the other win requirements, other than defeat all enemies and defeat boss, is sometimes go to the very end of the map, or make sure that one area is clear of enemies. So there's a few fun tricks that we can do, which will be happening starting from Chapter 5. Hi, Sir Pizza Panda. Hope you're doing well. The Chapter 3 fight is very quick. It's just trying to get in there and skipping all these cutscenes is what usually takes the longest here. Thank you for the Pikachu cheer. And the other good thing about this battle as well is that there's absolutely no setup. So what you're going to see happening is I'm going to be using a light wave Quietus to get Frederica in place, and she will beat up the boss, whose name is Plinius. So there he is. He's got a very big staff. And he's down. Sorry if that was too quick, and if you missed it, that was it. That's the end of him. Alright, the next map coming up is the Mines map. So we do come across the Mines map twice in the playthrough. We will see a small version of the map. There isn't much to say about it, and we're just getting a new character, which we already have, but we can't skip the cutscene. So the Mines map, Mines map isn't very interesting. The only interesting thing of note is that there is an NPC that we will use named Dragan. So we want to try to manipulate Dragan into finishing off the last enemy archer who hangs around on the cliff for us. There is a chance that he doesn't do what we want him to, but hopefully he does. And it's not a big deal if he misses, it's just, yeah, there hasn't been enough testing done to see why he moves the way he does. Because there's a chance he will just head north and do nothing. I guess I'll talk more about accessories. I only really glanced on that before. A lot of units have accessories that boost their abilities. So along with the Vanguard Scarf on Frederica, she's also got a magic accessory. Serenoa has strength, same with Roland because they're both physical attackers. Benedict because he's more of a utility character. He has speed bracelets. And there are a few characters that have a bit of a couple of other odd accessories. So we have equipped on Maxwell, for example, the immunity accessory, just to mitigate some RNG that happens on Chapter 9. And a lot of archers have accuracy boosting accessories just to make sure that they actually hit who they need to. So Archibald, for example, has power and accuracy equipped to him. The next map we'll be using Milo and Coletta. Milo is great because she has very fast speed, so she moves higher, she moves quicker on the initiative track. Same with Piccoletta, we've boosted her speed a little bit with speed boosting abilities. The other benefit of using Milo is that she has Moon Jump, which allows her to move across a lot of distance very quickly. And we use Piccoletta because she has a bonus to using attacking items. So there's a lot of times where we'll be using elemental pellets, so fire, ice, thunder, and Piccoletta does more damage with those items. The other thing of note is we'll be bringing in Medina, so she also has a bonus to items but just with healing, so she's more of a healer. And I will be getting these characters in. Eyes onto Pizza Panda. Alright, so here we're going to be using the Sunfall Strat with Frederica as well. So we're going to pop her. This is bad. I didn't move her around, so I will need to reload this actually. I did not put her in the right place to light wave her over. That's my bad, but we will fix this. It is important where she is placed as well. There we go. Yeah, so that she can reach the grouped enemies at the north, and then also reach another enemy on the far right, the far top hand corner. Okay, now we will move her over and we'll be doing the same thing with the Sunfall strat. There we go. So we're going to be picking down this group of enemies here as well with a bunch of items. Here's what I was talking about with using Moon Jump with Milo. We want Frederica to move next, but she can pick off the shield bearer on the top there. So Hewitt's gonna move next, and then this is where we will find out whether Dragan does what you want him to. Thank you, Dragan. And that's perfect. Other than the mess up at the start, of course. The run itself, the fight itself was pretty good. Alright, next map coming up is one of the maps which has a different win requirement. So the premise of the map is that we are charging back into Glenbrook Castle. And what we want to do is get Roland into the castle as fast as possible. So we're going to be getting rid of everyone first up. And then we're going to be using... Oh, hi Vajovis. Why are you sad? Sorry, I missed you there. So we're going to want to be using a bunch of Quietus abilities. So we want to Light Wave, use Fleet-Footed, and we want Benedict as well to cast Twofold Turn on Roland, which means that he will have... On his turn, he will take another turn essentially on top of his first turn. It was because he had to restart. Yeah. I do need to practice a bit more, but I'm getting the hang of it a little bit. But that's okay. Sometimes I can work around not getting it correct, but other times I can't, so I need to start. So yeah, luckily for us in this next map, we don't need to kill any enemies. So we'll go by pretty quickly. We want Roland to zoom across. Roland has a passive ability to have an extra bit of movement when it is clear weather. So that also helps us in this map. Now normally, if there is a barricade in the way, a unit can't walk past that barricade. Luckily for us, we can use Light Wave to teleport over. So, Twofold Turn. We still want to use Fleet-Footed as well, just to give him that extra little oomph. So we teleport across here. Use Fleet-Footed to give him that extra movement. The other thing we're going to do as well is we're going to use Rush, which is one of Roland's abilities. He will just end up on the other side of that barricade. And we end up in the finish line. So, remember that little tidbit with teleporting characters through barricades we're not meant to go through? We're going to be doing that again, but this time we're going to be using Frederica. So, with this next fight, the intended way to do it is to clear all the enemies out, use a little lever to activate the gate so we can walk through, clear off the enemies on the other side of that gate, and finish the map. The trouble with using the lever though is that it will call reinforcements and we don't want that. So speedy, it's because he has a horse. Yeah. He actually doesn't have the highest movement though. So you'll notice that little lever there? That's what they want us to use to get across. But we're not going to do that. We're going to be doing our own thing. So with teleporting Frederica to the other side, there'll only be 2 enemies there that we need to deal with instead of the 5. So there's 3 reinforcements that come up if we activate that lever. There is a funny thing with the initiative here. There is a soldier that no matter how high you put your speed, he will go next unless you've got the Vanguard Scarf. So we just want to get rid of him first. And it does nothing, so we want to contender. We want to Fleetfoot. And we want to give Frederica 2 turns. The same thing with Roland last time. Now, current way forward is blocked. Not for long. Go all the way up here. Defeat these last 2 soldiers hanging out. And that's another map done. Okay, so Chapter 7, we are going to have a serious Scales of Conviction vote. So this vote is important for the golden ending. It's a key piece. So the 2 options here are to keep Roland safe or give up Roland to the Esfrost. Now what we want to do is we want to actually keep Roland safe. So we will need to convince Benedict to what we want him to do, which is vote for him to stay. And the other thing that we don't want to happen is for any of the traps in the next map to activate. So if the traps activate, that means that the golden ending can't be done. The route that I have come up with is safe for both golden and other endings as well, so it can be used both ways. And I think that's basically it. But the reason why we also choose this map is because the next fight after this one is a defeat 1 boss win requirement. If we choose to give up Roland, then the next 2 fights are defeat all enemies twice in a row, which is a lot slower. There is a different strategy we're going to be using in this map as well. So we're going to be using Quahag and Ezana. So Quahag's ability, one of Quahag's abilities, which is his ultimate, is to cast Stop Time on all allied and enemy units. And he can also turn back time, so he can unstop a unit by using turn back time. The reason why we're using Ezana is because she is a weather mage. Her ultimate is to cast lightning on all units. The problem with this ultimate though is that it has a lowered accuracy. So under normal conditions, the lightning would have a 30% chance to hit on all enemies. That hit rate increases to 100% if they are stopped. Now the reason why we're using Ezana and Quahag, sorry, let me get through this menuing. Okay, so the reason why we want to use Quahag and Ezana is because there are 2 reinforcements that turn up if you defeat a certain amount of enemies. If you defeat all enemies, all current enemies, at once with the same ability, no reinforcements turn up. So this makes the map very fast, even though there is some waiting with the stop action happening on everyone. It's still a lot faster than the standard, the old route was. So you'll see this stop lightning combo happening in a few other different battles. Usually if there's reinforcements or if there is a very large map where it's too difficult to reach certain areas. And the other thing that we will be comboing with it as well is we want to up Ezana's magic damage as much as possible. So one of the ways is using an enchanting spice, which is an item which ups her magic attack. And the other is to use her other right, which is to cast rain in the map, which also ups lightning damage. So even though she's got 2 magic accessories on her, that still isn't enough to kill everyone. Especially like rogues, mages, healers, they all have a high magic defense. So with everything in that combination, it is enough to defeat everyone. We still need to chip down enemies as well, so we will need to chip down Avlora, who is the boss for this current map. And there are certain enemies that we still need to chip down as well, so other healers and mages, to have that combination work. Okay, gonna get this menuing and setup done, and then we'll get right into the battle. Sereno is a force deploy on every map. He is unfortunately not useful in this particular case. And there's nothing we can do to get rid of Serenoa. We're bringing Milo down here just to chip away at some of these enemies. And also to damage this mage here. I'm gonna use Medina to give TP so that both Quahag and Ezana here can use their ultimates. Again, still chipping away at Avlora's health here. So now all the enemies are going to group up nicely for us. In just a moment, we're going to bring Nav down with Light Wave so that he can AoE the little group of enemies there. And now we're going to be casting the rain, and it should be easy peasy from now on. So it doesn't matter if any of the characters die, it's actually optimal if they do, because then that's one less character to go through the stop motions. So you'll see what I mean with the waiting in just a moment. We want to turn back time. Alright, so everyone here is currently stopped. No one can do anything. So this is why this part is not as exciting, but you'll see everyone die on Quahag's next turn. So Quahag will be using the Enchanting Spice. We're also going to be using the Quietus in tandem for Ezana, because you can see her charging up her ability there. And we don't want her to wait until her next turn, because then some units will unstop. There we go. It's another map cleared off. So you'll see what I mean with the next map being fast in just a moment. We do need to put Frederica in because we had to take her out. That's just the unfortunate thing about the strat that I came up with. But the fight itself is still faster than going through to the alternate route with Chapter 8. The boss in this fight is named Rufus, so we'll actually fight Rufus 2 times in total in the golden route. We fight him 3 times in other endings. And there is another vote happening here, but it's a default vote, so we don't need to do anything on that either. I will say I am pretty excited for the Steam release of this game to come out, because the load times and getting through the story, I'm excited to see how much time it'll save. So I think I've explained pretty much every strat that gets used in the run. There isn't many other differences that we will come across other than different map win conditions. So the other little things you'll notice pop up is in the top right hand corner are the convictions. Like I said, it isn't important for New Game Plus. But if you see morality, utility, liberty pop up with a number, that will be the convictions. So yeah, fairly open map. We're at the Wolfort Domain Gates. We can skip a lot of it though using Lightwave again. Unfortunately, Frederica can't kill him in one hit. So it will take 2 turns for Rufus to go down. The bosses just keep getting more HP as the game progresses. Wait, where did she... Oh, I was meant to remove Lyla. That's fine. I was looking at the wrong section of my notes where it said to remove Roland. We'll have a little monologue here as well, which we don't really care about, but good thing for us, he doesn't do anything other than monologue. There we go. Okay, this next map, Chapter 9, it's the first map we come across where there is adverse weather. So it's actually raining by default in this map, and it's also nighttime as well. Unfortunately, we can't use Sunfall because there isn't a big group of enemies to use it on, so we're going to have to pick off each enemy, one by one. We'll also come across Trish and Travis, so the two bandits that we met in the very first map, the two red-haired bandits, We are going to be using Yen's in this map. So Yen's abilities is he can set a spring trap on the ground. What that will actually do is we want to place the trap behind Travis so that we can push him towards us. Because normally in this map, the bosses, so Trish and Travis, will move around and be out of our range. We'll also be using the stop Quietus on Trish so that she doesn't actually move. And then the rest of the enemies, there's not much to really explain about them. They're just a bunch of bandits. And we'll be, picking them off one by one. An interesting thing of note in this that happens here is that we'll see Roland put on a mask and a hat. Now you'll think that this doesn't mean anything, but what actually happens is that his sprite is actually being swapped out with a different sprite. So the game recognizes this as Roland leaving, and we have masked Roland joining, not that there is a prompt that tells you that. So for us, what that means if a character leaves the party is that they unequip all of their accessories that they have on. And if we need to use them again, and if their accessories were important, it actually means we need to re-equip them, which is slow. So, the unfortunate thing for us in the golden route is that we actually re-equip Roland 3 times during the course of the game. Yeah, because we watched him put on his hat and mask, he's unequipped his other accessories. There is a story reason for that, and it's that because they have decided to pretend that he's died, and they've planted a fake body to pretend he's the crown prince and he's died, so that they can no longer use him as a pawn and keep pursuing them. And there are points in the game where characters do leave. And casually, if a character leaves, I got pretty upset. Whoops. When a character left, because I was like, oh, but he has got the accessories that I equipped on him. I want those accessories. The game's pretty kind, and if a character leaves, they drop their accessories and you can put them on another character if you wanted to. It's just bad for us. The other thing I should probably mention about the map coming up as well is that it has a lot of verticality. There is a bit of RNG as well, because when it rains, there are puddles that get formed on the ground randomly across the map. So we can't predict where some enemies will walk to. They'll usually prioritize walking to a not rained on, a non-puddled land. So to get rid of some of the RNG from that aspect, we just kind of have to use characters that can move around quickly enough. We don't use Milo, we use Maxwell in this particular case. So I normally get Chapter 9 set up wrong. I will certainly try to get it right the first time though. Okay, so we want to get rid of Roland. We want to add Jens. Okay. Okay. Good setup. I got it right, guys. Okay. As I said before, the first thing we're going to do is we want to cast Missed Opportunity on Trish here. And the other thing we want to do is for Jens to go next. And now we chip off a lot of the enemies. So we're going to use the spring trap behind Travis so that he will fall off the house. You notice this big cross here, which will be important for Medina to give everyone TP. Quahag in this map is just used for moving units around. And yeah, it is random how those enemies move near Maxwell. We can't really control where he goes. This map also likes to move the camera in weird angles. I think it's because it struggles to deal with the verticality of everything. It's a little frustrating to deal with. And you'll notice it happening when Travis, well, after Travis's turn, because he's about to die. So on his, I think, dying preamble. Yep, here it is. And it stays there for some reason. I don't know why. It always happens on this map. You want to now. And the last enemy is going to die with Nov. Good fight. Okay, so chapter 10 is where is another key decision for the golden ending as well. So the two decisions here are to reveal Roland's secret that he's still alive or keep the secret that he's alive. We're delivering salt to Lord Svarog in Esfrost. And for this decision, we want to reveal Roland's secret so that Svarog trusts us. Unfortunately for us, it means that the fight is longer. There's not much we can do to make it faster, unfortunately, because if we choose not to reveal Roland's secret identity, it locks us out from getting the golden ending. The fight that is coming up in this area also has a little bit of verticality as well because it is a gate before you actually enter the main city. So we want to convince Anna here. We should reveal... So we will be utilizing Piccoletta in this next fight. And there is a bit of manipulation that we need to do with the enemy AI as well with their movements. So you'll notice... Sorry, I won't explain it now because you can't see anything. We don't use Sunfall in this particular strat. We will be beating down enemies one by one. There are no reinforcements, so it's a fairly quick fight still for defeating all enemies. It's just a little bit annoying with how the enemies are placed because they are placed on a wall, which normally can't be reached by melee units, so we have to use either an archer or a mage. Okay, so we'll be starting off on the left-hand side of the map, enemy units on the right-hand side. We need to get across and kill them off. And I will be placing a bunch of people. Brigands, Ezana. Maxwell. Pretty sure he's here. North Medina. We will still be using all of our Quietus points at the very start. We'll be moving Frederica down. And that is so that she can tempt the enemy boss out. And she will be... Oops, hold on. Fleet-footed. And then we want Null to go next. Okay, now we move Frederica up. Yeah, so the reason why we move here is, yep, so Sycris will move down and do cheer. I did kill off the wrong enemies. Hopefully that won't mess up my decision making too much. Yeah, that's fine. The issue at the end of this, or near the end of this fight, is where those shield bearers will move. Oops. There is a chance that they won't move how we want them to. And it's because sometimes I think Serenora is a much tastier target. Good. The Sycris should join them in a perfect shape. Perfect. Yay! Another good fight. Yep, I realized in my last run I didn't move Piccoletta over, which meant that the shield bearer didn't move how I wanted him to. So yay, improvement! Okay, chapter 11. So, with chapter 11, oh sorry, Svarog is giving us money, so we can't skip this cutscene. Yeah, so chapter 11, we will be fighting against Rufus, and there is an additional boss, House Telior. And the map as well is around a bunch of buildings, so there is a bit of verticality in it, but it's not as bad to deal with. We will be using Sunfall strat in this next fight coming up. We'll also be making use of the NPC that's available to us named Exharme. There is a little sad moment here where we see some Roselle working in the salt area. They are slaves, and the reason they're there is because Hyzant says that they sinned against the goddess. So in order to atone for their sins, they need to work off that debt. So we learn about the Roselle's history here. And what Hyzant want us to do is to bring the Roselle that we have in our home domain back to them. But we don't want that. We want to defend the Roselle. So not only is it the better choice, it's also the faster choice. Because that essentially means that the chapter 12 fight does not happen. We instead get a longer exploration for chapter 12 instead of a fight. And chapter 12 can be skipped pretty easily because we've already gained information that we need from our previous run through on the game. So we actually don't need to do any exploring at all. And the good thing about this vote is that it's also the default vote, so it's fast. Some maps with NPCs we can use, some maps we can't. Sometimes the NPC is placed too far away for us to make use of them. And in other cases where I have tested using the NPC, they don't always do what we want them to. Dragan and Jerome are more stable than other NPC uses, which is why they get utilized in the run. This next fight also has a pretty good tune. It's not one of my favorites though, but it's still a bop. So we should only need to pick a letter from this fight and move a bunch of units around and we'll be good to go. Wait, nope, here, yeah. Yeah. Okay. The enemy units at the end are a little bit unpredictable in this map as well. There are reinforcements that come up. But we will still be utilizing Sunfall because it's still the best strat we have. Just gonna chip down this road here. After this attack, the reinforcements will come up. Nope, two-fold turn. Yep, there's the second boss, Silvio, of this map. We've got Rufus coming up. Just one space. Nope, I want... Alright, so Jerome should attack Rufus here. And we will finish him off in Serenol's turn. The Regs are also guaranteed to always move in that position as well, which is good for us. The random movement coming up is this little group of reinforcements here. Silvio will always move up, but how these guys move is random. Just going to get this last archer in place. And because we used two-fold turn on Anna before, Anna will wipe out this group here. So we do use a lot of elemental items in the speedrun, just because they do AoE damage, and also it's just faster because they do more damage than just a singular attack. So this is going to be the longest period where there's a lot of cutscene skips, or cutscenes that we need to skip before we'll get onto the next battle. And I say battle very loosely because the win requirement on the next battle is to get all enemies out of a designated area. And we'll be doing something similar with Roland in that we'll be using twofold turn, this time on Quahag though, and getting him to move the enemy out of the spot. So we'll be skipping through this exploration phase. We will offer the pink rock. It's a very special pink rock. And that will be the end of chapter 12. That's all we need to do. It's at this part of the story where it starts to ramp up. The music starts to get a bit more serious. We'll be seeing some three-way votes instead of two-way votes. And the reason why we choose what we choose for chapter 13 is because it is the fastest route as well. So please enjoy these black screens as we wait to get up to the next boss. Well, fight, sorry. Yeah, we'll be jumping across a lot of the different places. And my most favourite part of the game is the exploration phase before the chapter 13 battle. Because the intended, well, I'm not sure if it's intended, but in the exploration phase, they want you to remove the street lamps by doing a bunch of mini quests, talking to a bunch of people, finding information, and turning off the lights so that you can go through while it's dark and not get spotted. And that's because we actually have a bomb called the Elfric. So the reason why we want the enemies out of the area is that we can place the bomb. And during that phase, Serenoa is pretending to be a merchant, and he's supposed to be the one running around and turning off or removing the street lamps. We don't actually do that in the speedrun. We skip that entire phase. And Serenoa says, "My job here is done." But he doesn't do anything, and it just reminds me of the Sailor Moon tuxedo mask meme. And it makes me giggle every time. Because he didn't do anything. Also, probably the best part as well coming up to this fight is that the vote is the default vote as well. We don't need to do anything. Just gotta skip through everything. It's technically the worst choice casually, because you're destroying the entire city. So we cause destruction so we can go fast. The other weird little thing that happens as well, I'll say it afterwards. I'll explain it as it's happening. Here we're still getting into the fight still. the only prep that we do for the map is to get rid of a couple of fast characters. So we're going to remove Frederica and Ezana. We're going to move Quahag a little bit just to get him set up. But otherwise, the setup is pretty easy. So you're going to see Cyrano briefly dress up as the merchant. And not that you'll see this text, but he'll say, "My job here is done." The map as well is one of my favorites because we go through it so quickly. Alright, I hope you guys are ready for this really long, drawn-out battle. Alright. Frederica and Ezana. Okay. Gonna using a bunch of Quietises to get across here. So yeah, if you do the map casually, those light street lamps aren't actually meant to be on. They're on because we don't care about them. And the reason why we don't care is because we only want to get this enemy out the way. I love that map so much. Okay, this next map coming up will be re-equipping Roland. And the reason why we will be re-equipping Roland with his original items, so he had a accuracy amulet or bracelet and a critical necklace, which means he does more damage from the back. So here's the little tidbit I was about to bring up before. We can't skip this cutscene coming up. Not that one. This next one, I think. Nope. Maybe this next one. Yeah, okay, so it's gonna be the start of this next one. And it's weird because, and the reason why I think we can't skip the cutscene is because a major change is happening geographically to the area, so we can't skip it. We can skip it now, but at the start we can't, we have to see the waves go over. There's a couple of other instances where if you don't press skip fast enough, it'll go through the geographical map change and then you can't skip it. But that's the only one you definitely can't skip at all until the narration starts kicking in. Okay, back to Roland. So we re-equip Roland with a critical necklace and an accuracy bracelet because Roland has the highest physical DPS and his ultimate has the highest physical attack of any character. If you don't re-equip him with an accuracy item, he usually misses. And he's well known for missing his attacks. There's two bosses in this one, so we've got Thalas and Erika, and they will die by Roland's hand. So, like I said, we will be re-equipping him twice, so this is 3 times in the run. There we go. And we don't need to do anything else. So there is a second time, the second time that he leaves the party officially will be coming up next chapter. And it's important for him to have those items. Okay, we want fleet-footed. So here there is a bit of manipulation going on with placements of where Frederica is. So by placing Frederica there, Erika should come up. And Thalas should also come up. You want a 2-fold turn? No, hold on. in tandem, and then 2 for 10. Yep. So yeah, we'll also be giving Roland the TP in this one here, so that he can actually do his ultimate. The other thing I didn't mention with Roland is that if he moves more than 5 spaces, he does an opportunity attack, which chips a lot of enemies down. So without re-equipping Roland with the critical necklace, he actually doesn't do enough damage to kill both bosses in 2 hits. And that's that fight done. That fight does have my favorite music, which is coming up, which is there briefly. But we will hear it for a bit longer on Chapter 20. It's just because I go through them up so quickly, there's not a chance for it to turn up. So, Chapter 15. This is another key vote that is happening here and is required for the golden ending. So with this vote, it is another default vote, which is quicker vote-wise. Battle-wise, it is a longer fight. So the Chapter 15 fights, there's only one which requires a defeat boss, which is normally faster. And the next fight that we will be doing is a defeat all enemies. We will be bringing in a character that we won't see for the rest of the fights at all. So his name is Corentin. He's an ice mage. The reason why we're going to be bringing in Corentin is because Frederica and Roland leave the party. And this is why, like I said, we'll be re-equipping Roland again after this. But there's a better spot to do it, so we won't be doing it straight away. In this next fight, we'll have Lord Simon. You can't use him though. As an NPC character, it would have been great if the AI did what I wanted it to, but it doesn't work out, unfortunately. There is a little bit of setup involved in this next map as well. So with Frederica out of the party, that actually frees up the Vanguard Scarf. So we'll be equipping that on Quahag. And Quahag will have the Vanguard Scarf for the rest of the run. In each of the paths as well, there will be a character that gets unlocked for doing that path. And this is where Roland and Frederica leave us. And Frederica will also need to be re-equipped as well. So, we're going to be heading back to the Wolfort domain. We are going to be beset by assassins. And the boss in this next fight is Pattriate. He is an archer. And there isn't really much to say about the fight itself. No real specific strategies I've discussed before, other than some AI manipulation that we'll be doing with how the enemies move. And as long as I get this setup right, we should be good. So he'll be the cutscene that we can't skip because we're going to get Milo. Alright, and let's get this set up. These items are always at the very bottom as well. Okay. Maxwell. Okay. Yeah, I paused there just to make sure everyone was in place, because I have messed up that fight quite a few times. Use the thunder pellet on that dude there, because if you don't, it's actually not enough to kill them off. Now we don't want to move Quahag because then it'll lure Pattriate down and we don't want that. No, yeah. Yeah, so these rogues will come down and they should head towards, Nav and Quarantine there. Oof, I forgot to lightwave Anna across, but luckily she didn't get paralyzed. That's my bad. And the reason why we want Quarantine here is because he has a very big AoE. He's got the biggest AoE next to Frederica. Yeah, so it takes 3 items to get those down regardless of what you do. And this is where he should die. Okay. Very smooth fight. Other than the mess up with Anna there, it was pretty straightforward. So I forgot to move Anna with Lightwave before that mage went. And by forgetting to do that, there is a chance that she will get paralyzed, which will mess up the order of the fight. RNG was on my side that time and she didn't get paralyzed, so I didn't need to reset or anything. Not sure how I would save that if I forgot. But anyway, this next fight coming up is going to be the second time we visit the mines. Except this time it's a lot bigger. There's a bunch of minecarts around as well. Casually, the fight is not fun, especially when you have to do it so many times, trying to get all of the endings. It doesn't change, and you always have to go through the mines map a second time. The reason why it's annoying casually is that there is a bunch of bombs lying around the mine, which will go off after a certain period of time. The time frame for the bombs is actually really lenient. It's more so that the map has 2 sets of reinforcements that turn up. So we'll be utilizing Ezana and Quahag in this next map so that we can kill everyone and not have those reinforcements turn up. So before finding that strat, it was frustrating to deal with. And it's only gotten better as the speedrun has been progressing, like routing-wise. So the fight in the mines now is fairly fun. It's pretty quick as well. If there is an enemy on the rail tracks of the mines, you do chip damage to them, which is what we want in the speedrun. So that's one less character we need to use to chip away at their health. The new character that we'll also be utilizing is named Trish. So we did unlock Trish as a playable character in a previous run, so she's now on our side. And she's just a good physical DPS, which is why we use her. So yeah, you can see those bombs, you can see the rails a little bit. Whoops, we can skip this cutscene. Alright, let's get this done. I think that's it. Yep. Oh, hold on. Yeah. So Anna gets to be the first person to use the minecarts. The only downside of the minecarts is that it does take a turn to call a cart down. So that's why we use Anna in that particular minecart, because she can call it and just move. And the reason why Benedict moves up there is because he's trying to bait out that swordsman there. So this is where we run over an enemy with Milo here. And now we don't need to chip him down. Pretty standard strats here with Medina giving Ezana and Quahag TP. And Trish is coming up, so she gets 2 turns here. We'll be using this minecart on the right to move all the way up. Oh, she didn't move far enough to reach. There we go. It's gonna be bomb placed. Yep, there it is. And Serenor is here to chip this guy down. And now the rest is pretty standard. I always like how it rains underground here in this mines map. It's just a funny little thing that happens when you cast her Rite of Rain. It just makes it rain wherever you are. So you can make it rain indoors even though it doesn't make any sense to. It's under a Minecraft like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. And the other good thing about this as well is that it's pretty fast, there's not a lot of waiting. And that should be the end of this map. And it's still raining. So, you'll notice that there isn't a chapter 17 in my splits here, and that's because chapter 17 is where the story would split. So if we didn't make the correct key choices up until this point for the golden ending, we would get one of the other 3 endings. So the only fight that we really do is the menu boss, where it asks us if we want to save before we proceed, and it's not set on the default, so you actually have to menu through to select no, and then yes, you definitely don't want to save. And then you make a bunch of selections based on the information that you gained along this route to get the golden ending. The other thing that's going to happen in chapter 17 is we're going to be splitting up our party into 3 units, or 3 separate units of 10 each, where they'll each get a different fight, a different map. And chapter 18 is one of the longest in the route. And that's because we're fighting a bunch of, we're doing a bunch of different maps. This is also where we're going to re-equip Roland and Frederica. And I think that might be the last set of equips that we'll need to do for the rest of the game. Oh no, there's one last time on the very final chapter, but that's pretty minor. Chapter 17 is one of my favorite parts of the game, as I was doing the golden route casually. Like, I just thought it was such a cool little thing to do for the golden route. Like, I wasn't expecting it at all. So there was first excitement, and then there was the realization that I hadn't unlocked all of the units yet, so I was still missing a few units. And also that a couple of my units were underleveled, so after the initial, oh, this is really cool, I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble. No, I don't want to save. Yes, I want to proceed. I did it. I passed the menu boss. Alright, so here's where we want to select. There must be another way, and go through all of these decisions. And so Serenor going to go through his thought process, and we need to select each of the correct ones with each question. one little last thing before we can actually select our units is that Avalora is actually going to join us as a playable character. Yeah, so she's coming up here. We actually do use her in one of the fights, so you will get to see her briefly. Here we go. Alright, let's re-equip Roland and Frederica. So accuracy and critical again. And Frederica needs magic. And we're just gonna move a bunch of characters out. Wait. Right? Yes, that is right. Sorry. There is a route that I figured out for Frederica's fight, which involves Giovanna. So I was confusing myself that fight with another one, which is why I was pausing and thinking, why did I move Giovanna out? But I do need to. Okay, so the 3 fights in succession are as follows. So first up, we are going to be using Benedict's units in the Wolfert domain. So this is the reason why we couldn't use the fire traps previously in the Chapter 7 fight, and it's because we have another fight here. If you use the fire traps, then the Wolfert domain will be locked out because they'll still be rebuilding their homes. The good thing about this next fight is that there is a little bit of waiting that goes on because we have Quahag and Benedict and we don't use any other units at all. But it's still pretty quick. We will be utilizing the fire traps in this one because it doesn't matter if we use them or not. So what we want to do is get all of the enemy units into a single fire trap. So we'll be using Quahag to get those enemies in place. And then we'll be activating that fire trap and killing all the enemy units. So this still counts as killing all the units with the same attack or ability. So there won't be any reinforcements that turn up at all, thankfully. We're going to be fighting Exharme here. Alright, so we want to move everybody out. Except for Quahag, of course. There is a bit of extra menuing that I will need to do in this fight. So there is a glitch that can happen when you're using fleet-footed. And it will come up later, so let me just do what I need to do first. So we're just moving Quahag here to bait out the enemies to come over to the right. And just having Quahag start there is enough to get majority of the enemies over. So there is going to be a whole bunch of waiting while we get all of these units across. We just want to move them up one step. I was meant to use time compression on Benedict. That might mess up the timing a bit. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, so by using time compression on Benedict, if you use fleet-footed and that was the last thing you selected, there is a glitch that will come up where it will apply fleet-footed on everyone. So we don't want that to happen. So on Quahag's next turn, I will be doing a bit of menuing just so that that bug doesn't turn up. And then using fleet-footed. Because if I don't do that, then it'll ruin what I am planning to do. Which is get this last healer into place, into these traps. And also get... Exharme into place. Oh. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, I forgot to use time compression on Benedict, which ruined the... I ruined the timing for the units. No cursing? Fine. Yeah, so because I didn't use time compression on Benedict, it ruined the initiative order. I thought I could get away with it when I noticed that I did it wrong, but I unfortunately have now realized that I can't. So have to reset because that ruins yeah, so the enemy unit going out of place there and Exharme moving ruins it. So I need to use time compression on Quahag's next turn. Yeah, so I need to use it here. Apologies, everyone. That was a good RF moment, though. Yep, it sure was. Trying to mess me up with my no cursing. Yeah, I still need to do the weird menuing. Move to hook statue, nothing. Yeah, I still need to do the weird menuing with Quahag. Because if I don't, then yeah, that glitch will turn up and I don't want that to happen. Yeah, so you'll notice here that Benedict is meant to move next instead of that rogue that went before. So now that everyone's in the trap, now we can activate it. And yeah, now we finished them out properly. The only difference that burning the houses down at this point in the map is that it means that you don't get a little bit of a little secret with a wedding scene. So if you burn down the houses, you don't get the wedding scene at the Warfoot Domain, you get it instead at Glenbrook. That's the only difference of using the traps there too. Okay, so this next battle is with Roland's regiment. So with Roland's regiment, the win requirement is defeat the boss, and in that particular case, it's going to be Gustadolph. We'll be using Avlora and Jens and Roland in the next map. And the reason why we bring in Avlora is that she has a passive ability called Lone Wolf, where the less units you deploy on the map, the higher her stats actually go. What this means is that her speed stats will actually be increased to higher than Gustadolph, and she will move first on the map. So what that means is we can then use in tandem on Jens again, and we're going to be using Jens's spring trap to bring Gustadolph closer so that we can finish him off with Roland. At this point, we don't necessarily need to have Roland equipped with the accuracy and critical necklace, but because we're going to be equipping it later, we may as well have done it at the start. Because the alternative way, if you forget to equip Roland, is to use the critical blow Quietus, because that's guaranteed to hit 100% of the time, as opposed to the 80 or 90% where there's a chance that he'll miss. We're going to be fighting at the gates as well. Luckily for us, there isn't a lot of verticality to deal with. It's a fairly straightforward map. And the other reason why we bring Avlora in is so that she can tempt Gustadolph to come out from hiding, because he's normally placed at the very, very back of the map. So the first two maps that we fight are pretty straightforward setup-wise. It's Frederica's map, which is difficult to deal with. So yep. It was going to be Gustadolph that moves first, but no. Avlora says no, so we want Avlora to turn her back here, so that when we place this spring trap, Gustadolph will land on it. Perfect. And we just want to battle cry Roland so that he can finish him off. So yeah, you would have noticed that there was an 86% chance to hit there, even with the accuracy accessory equipped. It can be mitigated with using the critical blow Quietus, like I said before, but I chose not to do it this time. Okay, Frederica's map. It's a fairly large open map. So the brief part you saw with the Roselle working to gather salt is where we'll be fighting. And the map itself is difficult to work with, so you can't use the Ezana Quahag combo because we used Quahag previously. We will be using Sunfall though, and we will be using Maxwell because they have a pretty big, so both Frederica and Maxwell have pretty big AoE ultimates. The other thing is, as well as we're going to be using Hossabara. So Hossabara is the barmaid in the encampment, which we never step foot in New Game Plus. But her ability, she has an ability called Catapult, which allows us to move characters around a little bit. So it's kind of like Quahag's ability, but with Hossabara instead. So a lot of the units we've seen previously will be turning up here. The other addition will be Julio, so let me... Oh, I don't need to do that. I need to get characters in place, so I'll explain in a moment. Oops. No. Starting position of this map is terrible to begin with, because There's a lot of verticality, so you have to use units you can jump away or move away from it without any issues. And the enemies are a little bit far off as well. So yeah, we're fighting Kamsell. The other reason why that using the Ezana Quahag combo won't work as well is that he... hold on. Double items. Yeah, so he heals on lightning damage, so you wouldn't be able to kill him in one hit anyway. South. Okay, so here's where we're going to be using the fleet-footed glitch. So by using a particular movement ability, and then cancelling out, you'll actually apply fleet-footed for 2 turns instead of 1 turn. So you'll notice on the bottom left there that they've got 2 and a boot instead of 1. 5 foot? Yeah. This is the map which I haven't had a lot of practice in, so I do apologize. Oh, hold on. Yeah, so this is where we use Sun for. Yeah, so there's still the reinforcements that turn up. Nothing we can really do about it. That's how it is. Luckily for us, Maxwell. Here we go. And Milo will come down to finish these guys off. Yeah, the reason why we need to re-equip Frederica with 2 magic amulets is because if we don't, then it's not enough damage to get rid of Kamsell. Okay, that is chapter 18 done. Like I said, very, very, very long chapter, that one. And there's nothing we can really do about it, unfortunately. Especially with Frederica's fight. So we're getting to the pointy end, just 3 more battles to go. Chapter 19, we're going to be fighting Exharme for one final time. It is a very open map, so we are going to be utilizing Ezana Quahag combo in this next one. There is an additional thing we're going to be doing, so we're going to be using Roland instead. So Roland does gain, has a passive ability to have an extra movement tacked on to him in clear weather. The good thing about the fight is that we're getting into it straight away. And what we want to do is chip down the healer that's near Exharme and get rid of Exharme completely. So we want to get rid of almost everyone in this next fight, and we want to have as little units as possible. It's one of the few maps that Seranoa also doesn't do anything. Alright. There's a reason for all of that placement, and you'll see why in a moment. Hello, you are very sleep deprived. How am I today? I'm going pretty good, Roland. I was feeling pretty tired for most of the day, but I've perked up a bit tonight. Time compression. Yeah, I was feeling pretty meh before I streamed, but now I'm okay. So here is where we want to move Roland up. And we're also going to use fleet-footed because it's still not enough for him to reach. Yes. So he should chip down that healer there. And yep, kill off Exharme. The reinforcements do not matter. We do not care about the reinforcements. And now we actually also do not care if Roland dies, because we don't need him anymore. Everything else in this fight is pretty standard for what we've done previously. So yeah, getting the right up. Gonna be casting the ultimate, going to stop time. And that's basically it for this map. So yeah, we only need to chip down the healer because, again, they've got high magic defense. So it's not enough to kill everyone in one hit. And there's no other reinforcements that turn up. You also seem to come in near the end of my streams, Roland. Because yeah, we've got 2 battles left. Which I guess is to be expected because it is very early for you. This was a wild way to enjoy the game for the first time, but you're going to go before the very end? No worries, Mima Sweets. Thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate you coming in. I'm glad you enjoyed your first time seeing this game. I really love this game. I've been speedrunning it since almost when it was released in March this year. I love the soundtrack as well. My favorite battle theme is coming up in this chapter, by the way. I have devised a new way of doing this fight though, so I'm going to be concentrating on it. Sorry, I haven't actually explained anything that's going to go on. We're going to be using Decimal for the very first time. I love the Barrel Boy. He does a lot of damage. He's got a very huge AoE as well. And that is the only new character that we will be bringing into this map. Okay, who do we need to move and where? Serenoa. And we bring Archibald over there. Decimal Quahag Frederica. Oh! It's 6:25 AM. You only pulled up your phone when you realized you couldn't even attempt to sleep. Oh, I know that feeling. I'm really sorry about that. But you can chill for a bit, and then I guess you're gonna take out your dog for a walk. Momentarily, maybe? So yeah, this is a new route which I have devised. We bring in Decimal here. And we don't need to unequip or re-equip anything with Quahag. So apologies while I am quiet going through this. I just want to concentrate on making sure I get everything correct. So yeah, we give a Decimal battle cry because he can target all of these enemies with his abilities. And we do massive damage. And here is the beginning of my favorite song. Okay, Quahag moving there should tempt Lyla into... Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We actually don't need Decimal for anything else. So yeah, we move Quahag there so that she uses slow on either him or or I guess in this case Decimal, which I haven't seen before. The reason why I had to devise a new route is because it was slow to re-equip Quahag to do what I needed him to do. And this should be the end. Come on. Yes! So neat. This game has a barrel character. Now you have to get this game. Well, Rohajin, I have good news for you if you don't have a Switch. The game is coming out on Steam on October 14. So if you don't have a Switch, there you go. I'm pretty excited to see the time save with load times, to be honest. So we are coming up to the very final battle. If you have stuck this far with me, thank you so much. The next fight will be very quick. It's a defeat a single enemy. That single enemy is named Idor. He is giant because of course he is. And there is a risky strat and a safe strat for this. We're going to try risky first up because it's fun. So we're going to unequip the accuracy amulet that we had on Roland to give him another damage booster. So I will do that in just a moment. We just need to get these characters into place. Obsidian Anklet, yes. Alright, so we want to, in tandem Roland first up, we do want to give him Battle Cry, and we also do want to use Fleet-Footed. So Idor does have an ability which grants him immunity, but on the very first instance of him not taking a turn, it doesn't matter, he doesn't have that immunity now. So we're going to get Idor into place here with Quahag. Next to you. Gonna have a bit of a dialogue here with Quahag. So let's hope that Roland does not miss. Got an 88% chance here, guys. Oh! And that's it for the run. Once he goes through his dying animation. Not bad, I think. You do have a switch, but on Steam it will have a higher likelihood of going on a good sale. That's true. It's 10% off now. It's about 71 AUD. Hicks, hi, you've come in at the very, very end. So, that's the entire run for the golden ending of Triangle Strategy. Again, thank you so much for everyone that stuck through it.